Good morning. Well, how far down will it go? We were looking for a turn and we got the turn. And these are, it's a difficult one to call. But we were looking for it and it developed. And so, this big move down and then the big move up. It's like, how far up can it go? And, we just kind of it's not random, it's subjective as to this about 50% area of the red bar, but it works out. And over as we look at this and explain, okay, from the point of view as how it's explained in the courses, is that it stays in the lower half and ideally in the lower third. Clearly it got beyond the lower third on the rally up because it went down too far. And then it just sprung right back up again after it hit the 100 MA. It's not on here, but same as the 20 on the weekly there. And so somewhere up there was anticipation of a turn. So once you anticipate that, and we look over here, there's nothing to the left. We look, the next MTS concept is, can it create resistance where there is none? And that's exactly what happened here on the hourly chart. Once it created a pivot, right, we look for sellers to be there. Yesterday, we talked about this range and prices going up there pre-market, and that if they were to take it out, we would not be interested in a long. What we would look for some consolidation or a pullback to go along, that it could possibly continue to go up. Clearly, that didn't happen, and it broke through the bottom of the range and down into the void it went. And so it stabilized here. So now, where should this go? Well, just looking at that daily bar here, it may already be past that. We'll look at the futures and SPY. But typically with a day like this, I'm looking for like a measured kind of a move, which is going to put it somewhere down here. I don't believe it'll go down there today. I do think it has a very good possibility to come down into this area here to 4,600. Which, okay, what about a put credit spread? I think it's going to be nasty as far as the open. It may bounce from there. You can see how much the Nasdaq is down here. We'll see where that relates to looking to the left and the S&Ps. But there is juice down just below the 4,500, all the way down here. It would be an amazing day for this to go down there. So there's juice at 4,500 if you're so inclined. I mean, there's like monster juice at 45, 25. Well, I wouldn't say monster, it's almost a buck. Then you got to do the spread. But in any event, this is the beauty part about these big moves on SPX, is that the premium jumps so big that you can get so far away. And maybe that's an SPY. Dan will take a look at that. We'll take a look. But you can't get as far away with SPY as you can with SPX. And so you can get, for a relatively small amount, depends on how many contracts you do, of course. But you can get so far away that the probability, which is all we're trading, is probabilities based on patterns, that in this case, it won't go down here. And I think even if it did go down there, it's going to bounce. It's just too big of a move to go from there to there. This was what when this began to turn, we looked at what the 5% correction was. But, from where that correction started up there down to here is, you can see it's about 6% or so. And maybe it keeps going where we get a larger correction, but we can't go there today as far as, thinking that something like that is possible. But so this is more than 5% down here from here. And if it was to get down there, it's going to bounce. So, an SPX put spread at those levels, I'm not saying don't wait 5 minutes or whatever to see what's going to happen at the open, but the idea of it going down there today, the probability is no. And if it does, it's going to bounce, especially if it kept going. So, if you're willing to do 2 contracts or 4 contracts, as it starts to move, do half of that and then see if it keeps going. because the premiums will get even fatter. All right. SPY, let's see where that is, because we don't always look at that. Down at 460. So gapping down here, it's a decent sized gap. And, it probably, maybe it bounces from there, but the ideal scenario is, well, we look for a greater than 100% retracement, meaning if it, the gaps, it opens down here, you can see it's already been going down, but the momentum is slowing, which you can see here. It doesn't mean momentum won't pick up again, but for the moment, momentum is slowing to the downside. You can see here it started, momentum increase. You got the wide range bar saying, hey, this is getting a little too much and it's going to stabilize. It did, but then went lower. So the distance between the lows is decreasing. Momentum is slowing. No indicators needed for that. This is all you need to look at, and you can remove the noise at the bottom of your chart if you're using stochastics or RSI or whatever. So 460-ish, maybe it comes down below here where that would be a great setup, especially with this unfilled gap, to look for an intraday long trade. Could be a sizable bounce. We shall see how that plays out. So I would look for this. This would be the area, should it keep going down there, for a high probability long with a pattern on the 5 or whatever time frame you choose to use. Yes. And so we see, with the overnight trading, more complete bar. And whether it gets down there today, I kind of hope it does. There is a void. There's little to nothing here to stop it. Another great example of creating resistance. I believe this was 4 o'clock. In here yesterday, I mentioned in the green room, I think it was around 3:30 or so. We had, on the 5-minute, I'm not going to go there, but I said, it's making this higher high. And I said, this is probably where it's going to turn. And it clearly did, and made that nice little move into the close. But so now this looks like it should be able to just keep going down into here. And should it get down there and break that low, I think it'll be a great, intraday long to come all the way down there. And so with that lining up, going back and thinking about SPX, there's going to be buyers down here. And if it breaks the low, then a bounce. And so SPX going down there today seems highly unlikely. Nasdaq, same story, it's rolling over, and look for it. I'll be looking for it to come down here because that's where the support is. There's nothing. I see this little overlapping opens and closes here. But unless this is creating some support, but it's clearly in a downtrend and possibly beginning to make a trading range that it's got the pivot, and we'll see whether it clears here and goes a bit higher or whether it just goes sideways and then to break lower again, getting down into this area where there'll be more buyers down there because that's where they were before. Right? Pretty simple. Comes down there, and if it goes down there rapidly, well, more likely that it'll bounce even more. Let's see. I see Dan's posting there. Okay. All right. Russell. Down on support. So it was the weaker, showing some relative strength. Pretty, common. That's the case, that the weaker shows some relative strength because it's already made the move down. Right. Joseph asking me ES major support at 45.75. 45.75. Well, this swing low right down here. Right. And so, all right, so let me back up here a minute. It's a good question. We have limited time here, pre-market. So major support is defined as the low prior to the higher high, which is down here. What do we call this? Well, because it didn't make a higher high, I'm not calling it major support. I'm just calling it a higher low. at that point. So it is a reference point of support, Joseph, but it's not what we would call major support. As this has started to move down, ideally it breaks it coming down to this level here. And you can see there's another low in that area. So this is a really big support level for a short-term bounce back up. And so as I spread that out, we could start to, lead the conversation to, is that a head and shoulders top breaking here? And, we could really get into like some downside targets would probably be down here at the 200, but, that's going to be something for consideration next week, not for now. We'll see how today plays out. All righty. We looked at the Russell, the Qs, right? We wanted to go down there. The Dow, which has been showing some relative strength. So I looked at this morning. I was like, okay, measured move. Okay, eventually, I guess for next week, down here at the 200 into the area of this low here, that would be, about a 5% or so correction, which has been what the markets have favored last year, about 5%. Maybe it'll be different this time and we'll get something bigger. But, just based on this pattern as it's playing out, breaking through here, we'd look for a move down to the 200 eventually, which I believe, would again next week, looking for after what happens today. So as we create these projections or biases, I should better to say, about eventually coming here, well, we have a concept called bar by bar analysis, which tells us, hey, Greg, that idea that you had about it down here? Well, you see this big giant green bar? Maybe that ain't happening. No, you put the moment in the context of what preceded it and then see, is that still supportive of your bias before? And if we were to get, a confirmation bar, like this, that could put us, say, hey, bar by bar, that's exactly what's playing out. It's a simple concept, but a powerful one. All right, Bitcoin still weak, but kind of holding this area there. Undecisive whether it keeps going down or not. Could form a little retest pattern down here and turn around. Oil still strong, heading up to that prior high. Silver trading range. You can see. What is a measured move for the NQs, Mr. Pink is asking me. Well, I'll have to look at it. Not always does it suggest a measured move on the pattern, but this does. And so it's, look, you could do it like this and say, hey, pretty like that, and then just take this and drag it down to where it's stabilized, and it would put it down here. And that's most of the time what it does is it lines up with a prior area of support to the left. Now, you can do it like that and probably lines up in the same way. When you take that move and just, go like that, puts you exactly in the same place. Now, this is a 5% move. And, we started the year with, in the letter anyway, with the idea of, hey, this year with the things that are going on, we think a 10% move could be in the cards this year. And that puts it at about 10%, give or take, coming down into this area. And this pattern supports, that until it doesn't. Looked at the euro yesterday and starting to move up where the day before, and the dollar coming down. And this is something that as the dollar was strengthening, it was putting some pressure on equities. And so, this turnaround, this certainly looks like it's going to go higher. And volatility index. So set your alerts. right, at prior highs. We've got one here. That could be for today. That might tag it at the open. Let's see VXX where that is. 1950. Yeah, so close to this high, but VIX is a much better reference to turns. So this high, and then of course this high, just set your alerts. You don't have to watch it. That goes off intraday. Maybe you get a high NYSE tick and maybe get a bounce setting up. And just lastly, to look at internals, there's still gas in the tank to help drive this thing down. So we were looking at this pattern and we had these internals thing, we're down here already. Right. I would be so, I guess, biased, let's say, to think that this has the potential to go down there if this was already down there. So it's not. And there's, let's say, gas in the tank before this could get down to a level where it'll give us a buy setup. And that is the benefit of these internals that give us this guidance as to the probabilities. Like looking here, as it was here, the comment was, it's close enough to be cautious, where this had new all-time highs. And, someone might have been making the case just based on this power move and consolidation, it could go to 4,900 or 5,000. And this was pointing to, well, that maybe could happen, but not in a straight up move based on historical internals. And now with what we have now, this idea, say forget about it for now. All right, Dan, all yours.
Good morning. Happy zero DTE day. Yeah, so with the big move down, stabilization, extended 15-minute charts, I have a bias for selling put spreads today. We got into spider yesterday, a call spread in addition to this bear put debit spread. So I just to start off the day, I said 5-minute high. Let's sell half. And so our opens are all fine. Let's see what I got here on the interest list. Banks getting whacked. Casinos are up on news of China extending their contract in Macau. So this one's gapping to the top end of the range. Milko, Win, it's a gap breakout, 92. So on a pullback, this MGM, well, it was, I liked it better when it was above 46. We'll come back to you. LVS, 42.25. Wow, that's a big gap. Way the heck up here. I'm going to put that in a window. LVS. So banks have been strong, banks and energy. And so I don't know if it's the sell, buy the rumor, sell the news, but this is an ugly gap down here, down to 161. That's actually a huge Bear Island reversal now. Most island reversals are kind of 1, 2, 3 bars, but this is gapping under this entire island. So now it's a big fat trading range. Wells had earnings kind of slopping around there, but that's extended on the daily. Citigroup, 60 under here, bearish, but it's kind of in the mid-range. I don't know what to do with that. Goldman, just in sympathy, going down, 383. Yeah, this one, Goldman has earnings. I think we looked yesterday on the 18th, is my memory's right. All right, I don't know what's up with NTAP, but look at this thing at all-time highs. Beautiful. You know, I think next week, MT Live, the next week or two, we're going to be talking about the turn. And this was a beautiful turn right here. This was a 1-bar range expansion turn. But that was a bullish close. And now I see it gapping up here to 97. Put that in a window. Retail numbers at 8:30 were disappointing, and that's breaking down more. Big old top on the monthly with that upside shakeout. VOR B. I guess saw this up. This totally looks like a SPAC, and I don't know, one of the orbit kind of things. But you know, it's pulling in to be a buy setup. We'll take an eye on it. Peter, I don't think so. I know it's a holiday, but I thought those markets are still open, or at least equity is. Do you want to go to nicey.com and verify that? Well, I'm not 100% sure. Equity markets are closed? Why didn't I know that? All right, there's some president's holiday that that they don't honor it anymore, whereas you know 10 years ago they did. MLK. Yeah, it was a big article in the paper. I don't know what it is and if this happens nationally, but these, you know, the black people and whatever else they call wheels up, guns out. They're just terrorizing the streets on their ATVs. It's pretty dangerous and rude. All right, Piton here. You know, we did scanning in the room yesterday, and I was making the comment that there were so many bearish patterns that that we still have bad breath under the hood. And I like, look at this dog, Piton. This is a discussion of trend strength, downtrend in this example, downtrend strength. And now I read that it's getting kicked off of the Nasdaq 100 and ODAFL. Wow, that's helping ODAFL. 327. All right, so Detective, are you here? You said you were going to be here on Fridays. ODAFL is a put spread watch now. And I don't mind going out the next week. And, you know, I don't trade fundamental news, but when something gets added to a major index, the Dow, the S&P, or the Nasdaq, there's natural demand. So I think this low with this bullish gap should hold for a while. CMG got upgraded, but no pattern. DPZ downgraded. I'm going to keep an eye on this. You know why? Down a bunch, 200 support. It's right here at the October breakout. And remember I said a few minutes ago, the turn, TURN. I do not have a turn yet, but I want to watch it because it's in an area where it might happen. So Sam got a downgrade, bear 1, 2, 3. Now the reason I like this is it's at a prior low. Now could it slice right through that like butter? Of course, but it's enough to put it on the interest list. Frick, no pattern, up $2 is not much. This TPG was, I read in the journal, it's a new IPO, obviously, as you can see by 1 day of trading, but it's a money management firm, hedge fund, whatever. So I like watching IPOs. Let's keep an eye on this. You know, the news with the Biden's defeat yesterday. Well, he got a partial. He got a partial from the Supreme Court. The big one he lost, but they, in terms of vaccine mandates, were stricken the private companies. But he says if you're getting federal money, then yeah, we'll let you be stricter for that. So my immediate thought is, all right, well, what's that going to do to these vaccine people? Because it's obvious less demand for their product, right? If you're going to force people to take your product, don't you think that's a good thing for your product sales? So MBEX down 11.5 bucks. You know, Myrna's been weak for a while here. Look how crazy this thing trades. You know, you all ask, or new people ask me, hey, what does beta mean? This is beta. It's how volatile this animal trades, as opposed to, you know, golden retriever, who is not a Rottweiler. It's not you know, you pet him on the head, he's not gonna bite your head off. So that's volatile. Walmart is on my list. I like it even better now. This is a huge ascending triangle, Debbie, with a slight symmetrical. But now with the gap down, if it takes out yesterday's high, I like it even more. So this will be, as long as it doesn't close more than, you know, so this is Wednesday, last Wednesday's MT Live retracement analysis. As long as it doesn't close 50% into yesterday's real body, then I'm going to put this in the letter to buy over yesterday's high on Monday. Make sense? I'm setting an alarm 145.50. I mean, because, you know, another relative strength concept is overlay the diamonds to this. Look, diamonds are worse. All right, spiders, you know, let's keep a tight leash on our open position. I said 5-minute high. Let's see, the midpoint of that debit spread right now is 674. So we're up nicely. And we bought it for 470, so we're up $2, which is just roughly in my head, almost 40% return.